As a cabinet maker, if you have experience in your home country, but you do not have the relevant qualification, is it necessary to study that occupation in Australia? That's a really common question that we get all the time. There's a few things you want to consider here. What's the visa that you're going for? So if you're looking at applying for an independent skilled visa, and it depends how much experience you have. If you have 5 to 6 years of work experience full-time, it may not be necessary for you to actually have to study a qualification here in Australia. However, if you have less than that, and you're still going for an independent skilled visa, it may be necessary for you to undertake some study in Australia if you want to try and get an independent skilled visa, because you may not have enough time. Now, if you're looking at being sponsored as a cabinet maker, so sponsored by an employer, and you don't have the relevant study, you may be able to get in with 3 years of full-time work experience in the last 5 years. And this could be relevant for you to be sponsored and then obviously have a pathway to residency. So what's the benefit of studying in Australia? The benefit is that you now make yourself eligible for a graduate visa. So after 2 years of studying cabinet maker, you now give yourself the chance to basically receive a graduate visa and then have the best chance possible to either be sponsored by an employer or alternatively to apply for an independent skilled visa based on your points in your profile. So studying does definitely have its advantages, even if you do have experience back home. Occupation as a cabinet maker, the question comes up quite a lot. Can I count my experience in my home country to apply for a full skills assessment? The answer is yes, you can. So if you're going for a full skills assessment, you can use that experience from back home, assuming you've obviously got your qualification or a relevant qualification in the trade as well. Now, the next thing that comes up is what is the relevant skills assessment that I'm going for? Well, what you want to really always keep in mind is, how am I going to count this work experience? So do I have documentary evidence that I have been working for the amount of time that I say I've been working? Really often I meet cabinet makers who have 3, 4, 5, 6 years experience back home, but they only have 1 or 2 years of work experience that they can prove using documents. The reason being that they can only prove 2 years is because for 2 years they have a salary, they have an employment, they have employment contract, they have pay slips, they may even have a good employer letter. But prior to that time, they were working cash in hand, or they were working, not in a real formal way. And unfortunately, that is a disadvantage to a lot of people. So make sure that you can prove your work experience is really important, because the Skills Assessment Authority consider that really closely, and they want to look at exactly what you've been doing during that time. As a cabinet maker, the entity that evaluates your skills assessment is going to be TRA. That's called Trades Recognition Australia. Now, what they're looking for is, they're the starting point when you're getting a skills assessment. So say, for example, you're going to be undertaking a skills assessment for an employer-sponsored visa. Well, it may not be TRA. It may have to be another entity that may assess your occupation. TRA is a starting point. That's where you want to begin your search for the right skills assessment, because certain occupations or certain visas, require you to undertake a certain or specific kind of skills assessment. So if we're proceeding with the skills assessment, TRA will be the place that we start, and that'll make a determination. If we're going for an independent skilled visa, TRA can provide us with this. Now, they may look at, do you have the relevant study? So do you have the relevant qualifications? And they may also consider, do you have the work experience required for that role? This is where you need to prove that you have the qualifications, that it's comparable to Australia, but also that you have the work experience that is also comparable here in Australia as well. So, have you done the correct skills? Have you undertaken the duties that a cabinet maker would do to do that role here in Australia. So really important for you to start that process at TRA and go from there.